Let me show you something I've done for my tomatoes. These are real young tomatoes that I cloned, and I had some shade cloth from several years ago. It's been in storage, it's got holes in it. It doesn't look so good. But these tomatoes were struggling. It is hot, 97 or 99 yesterday, gonna be 99 for the next 2 or 3 days here in Texas. It is hot. And again, these are young tomatoes. They're in an earth box. So I covered them, and that one does not look good at all. I'm just trying to save them, and I may have waited too long to put these on. Some of the bottom leaves are pretty dry. They've got a few blooms on them, but I really don't expect them to set fruit because it's so hot. But and this is just something simple I did, is come in here with a couple of 4 pieces of rebar, and just threw the tent over it. Basically, it's just I'm tenting the. Probably need to pull this up because I think the middle of it, that middle may be touching one of the plants. I don't want it to crush the plant, so I'll throw that over the top. Just kind of making a tent. There you go. Making a tent for these tomato plants. They're just. I waited. I cloned them and I let them sit in pots, and they got root bound and just didn't get out. I had them under about a half shade, where they got about half sun, half shade. Some of them look pretty good. That one's not too bad, and the other one next to it. Like I say, some of the bottom leaves are dry and need to go ahead and pull those off. But I'm hoping this tent, this shade cloth, will do the trick. So if you have any shade cloth, or even a frost cloth, that white cloth that you frost cover, that would work too. I've used that before on fruit trees. But basically I just put some rebar, 4 pieces of rebar on the ground. I love rebar. This is 3/8 rebar, and it's just so useful. You can make gosh, you can just do so much with it. I just really enjoy it. The wind has already caught this once and pulled it off this post. So what I need to do is come in here and kind of gather that like that, and then put a tie wrap on it, a cable tie on it, just to hold it. Do that on 4 corners. But just tenting, shade clothing my young tomato plants, trying to get them through this heat wave that we've got going on, and it is a killer. Now, some things love it, some things don't. But tomatoes like the heat, but you know, young tomatoes, they're struggling right now. And so I've made a little tent over them with some rebar and shade cloth. And I'm hoping to save them and just bring them through, you know, the real hot weather that we have typically here in August. And then hopefully they will, I can cage them, and they will, in fact, if I had a cage on them right now, I could just throw this over the cage and probably be okay. But I'm hoping I can cage them later, and they will start producing up until frost. These are red snappers, I believe. Red snapper tomatoes that I got the seed from House Tools. Let me run you over here real quick and show you another tomato that I don't have any more shade cloth. But this one I planted earlier. This one I cloned earlier, and I planted earlier. It planted in the pot. This is a grow bag. And I think for that reason, it got off to a better start. And so this one is looking good. You know, it's got a few dead leaves on it, but by and large, it really looks good. Got blooms on it. Again, don't expect those to turn into tomatoes simply because of the heat. But red snapper is a heat-tolerant variety, so it might. Who knows? We'll keep you posted. I hope to have some tomatoes. My other tomato plants, I've got a few that have not ripened yet. But the rest of them, the tomato plants just don't look so good. The tops of them do. The bottoms, the leaves are drying out. But the tops of the plants look good. So those are red snappers also. So I'm hoping these once we get through the heat, once we get through this, you know, maybe another week or two, or hopefully, or 3 or 4 of heat, hopefully these will begin to produce tomatoes again, and I can have me some more fresh tomatoes. Right now they're starting to get kind of scarce, starting to get kind of thin. Mainly want to show you the tent, the shade cloth. You don't have to have a greenhouse with shade cloth. You can just make your own tent, make your own little greenhouse or shade house using some rebar. You don't have to use, you know, I've said rebar several times because I really like rebar. It's just so useful. You can use it for so many things. But if you just had some tomato stakes, you know, as long as they're tall enough to drape over however tall your tomatoes are, you know, you want to make sure you're not, again, the weight of the shade cloth is not crushing down on tomatoes. Now I'm pretty close. I don't know whether you can see that, but that tomato is only about 1 foot from the top of that shade cloth. So I'm pretty doggone close. I might have to raise it up a little more. We'll see. There's another tomato that's pretty doggone close. Pretty doggone close. So if you're in the South or in a hot area and you're struggling, your tomatoes are struggling right now, then this may be something you want to try. I'll put a link to some shade cloth below. I'm not sure, I bought this so long ago, I'm really not sure of the percentage shade cloth it is, but I think a 70% shade cloth would probably be good, 60 or 70. And my son-in-law has used shade cloth in the past and has kept his tomatoes producing all summer. So we'll see how this goes. If these blooms that are on those tomatoes start setting fruit, then shade cloth is the way to go. And I may build just a shade house, since I'm doing containers. That's the beauty of containers, is that if in the hot summertime, if you had a shade house, you could take those containers. In fact, I could take these right now and move them over in a place that gets partial sun. That might not be a bad idea, but we'll see how this works first. But the beauty of containers is, if you had a shade house in the hot summer, those containers could move over to the shade house. And where you can't do that, if you're planting in the ground, you would have to build a shade house over your planted, your ground planted, your traditionally planted items. So the tomatoes don't look great, but again, I waited a little while before I put it up, and I should have. I saw them hurting. I saw them under stress, so that's why I did this. And I should have seen them. I should have seen that they were under stress a week or two ago, and then looked at the weather report and saw the heat coming and did something about it a little earlier. But I didn't. We're here now, and I'll let you know how this works. So far, I think I like it. Shade cloth, trying to keep tomatoes alive. We're gone.